And let's press go on that. Right. Where did I put the script? I do not know.
It's in the cloud, Joel. In the cloud.
It is. Everything's in the cloud now, isn't it? Any changes being made that I need to be aware of?
I'm going to cross out Lewis's name because he's slacking off.
He might join us when we get to talk about Ark Nova.
Okay, I'm still striking him out.
Okay. Let's go, as they say in the video game industry.
Cool.
Right.
Let's do it.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, dear listeners. This is episode 87 of the Devon Dice podcast, recorded on the 28th of August, 2022. I'm your host, Joel Wright, and we have a bumper show for you tonight. I have my usual co-host, I'd say usual, another one slacked off again, and can you guess who it is this time? Joining me, I've got our resident game designer, Nick.
Hello.
And Sam, the excuse maker, is back.
Hello. No excuses
Sam,
this week.
Are you sat right away from your mic or something? Because I've just realised.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's
Just
better.
right by my face.
You're all quiet for a minute.
Yeah, Lewis can't join us. He's got family over, and because it's bank holiday weekend, he's got to deal with that. He was mighty upset about it. But anyway, so we're going to move on. He might jump in when we talk about a certain game later on. So yes, it's been another month, and we're back for a third episode in a row. This is going to be a regular thing now. And I have to say, in the time since recording, I have big muscular shoulders. And that's all because I brought an Oculus Quest 2.
Oh, nice.
Sam's
Still not
accepted my invite yet, but anyway.
I've not logged on since you asked about it.
No, so as I said, I actually was going up to Oxford, and then I dropped in on Lewis on the way home, and I had my son with me. And me and Lewis played a game while my son played on Lewis's Oculus Quest 2. Absolutely loved it. And I had a few goes on it, doing some Beat Saber, and I absolutely loved it. So cool. When I got home, I started searching around. I was trying to buy a second-hand one, and bloody hell is Facebook Marketplace the worst place to try and buy anything.
It is awful. Oh, my word, yeah.
I messaged so many people that were trying to sell their Oculuses at. I had a couple of people come back. One person, I remember exactly, he was selling it for like $250. He says, a couple of months old, only played with it a couple of times, just not really excited, want to get rid of. I was like, so, okay. Messaged him, I said, where are you? He said, somewhere in Devon. I said, all right. I said, so if it's only a couple of months old, have you still got the receipts and that, just in case anything goes wrong with it later on? And then he never got back to me. So I was like, okay, might not be kosher. So then talking to Sam put me on to CEX, and a good bargain. No wonder it was a good bargain. It was disgraceful. It was foul when it came.
You get what you pay for, Joel.
Yeah, I kind of realised that. So I sent that back.
You pay for the extra COVID.
Yeah, that was what I was worried about. This thing, usually they're white. This was a nice brown colour. It was.
That's been heavily smoker owned, I would suggest.
Even the missus like saying, "You're not going to put that on." I said, "No." So that got sent back immediately, and I just bit the bullet and bought a brand new one. Even though they've gone up £100 in price, it's just.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, had to. I should have brought one when Lewis and Sam were talking about like a year or so ago now, when we were in the first lockdown. But hey ho, you pay for your mistakes. But so yeah.
But you're enjoying it now. Enjoying it.
Loving it. Really like Beat Saber is like just the best thing on it. It's like you just feel like a Jedi swinging around lightsabers.
Nice.
Until you twonk your hands together.
Yeah.
I've smashed the batteries out of my handsets more than once.
Oh really? Wow. No, I've not done that.
Yeah.
I've hit myself in the face a few times, but
Yeah.
Or Isaac, he goes on it, and you have to watch what he's doing, because even though you put the guardian barrier up, like it comes, if you get too close to it, it comes up with a grid formation. He still seems to go running into the TV. I was like, what are you doing? So yeah, he has to be watched. But yeah, and actually, he's not been on it as much as I have, which is really surprising. So, but yeah, loving that. Me and Lewis actually there is a board game on there, a dungeon crawl game called Demio, and me and Lewis have started up a little campaign of it. So we played a session this morning. Didn't do too badly. It's very much like Gloomhaven a bit in many ways, but without all the faffing of cards kind of thing. But yeah, we're going to have some more goes on it, and then we'll hopefully it'll be back that we can talk about it more once we've played it more. So there is that, and there is actually 2 well-known games on there that you can play in virtuality. Have you seen them, Sam?
No.
So one of them is Catan, or as usual, and the other one is Shiro.
Okay, Suro,
Yeah. So, but they cost a bit too much. I'm not paying that just to get bloody games like that.
Which you probably could easily get a physical copy of as well.
Probably, yeah. So
probably for
They
cheaper.
routinely do sales for games.
Oh,
yeah.
They'll send you like, you've got an exclusive 40% off voucher.
yeah,
But and so you can always wait until you get one of those, and then you can get yourself any other games much cheaper than list price. Really.
Nice, yeah.
What's your favourite game on it, Sam?
To be honest, I use it mainly as more like an exercise device half the time.
Yeah.
So Beat Saber's actually really good for a workout, quite frankly.
Definitely.
You come off that and you sweat. You play an hour on that, and you've basically done yourself. It's like 3 hours in the gym almost. The other one that I really like, which is again, it's just a rhythm game, is called Audio Trip. That one's quite good.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah. There's one called...
That's more like a dance kind of stuff. It's more like a dance version as opposed to it being kind of Beat Saber style. But it's really good for like a workout. Pistol Whip's very good. That's more like a game.
Yeah.
It's very physical, but it is more of a arcade shooter sort of style, where you kind of like imagine yourself as a shooter on a conveyor belt going through a polygony terrain, and you've got to kind of shoot the baddies and dodge their bullets kind of style, and that's very cool.
Yeah, again, that's another one I'm waiting for people like on the regular kind of discount day thing. So yeah.
The only big game I've kind of bought, I've got a flight simulator one, which I can't remember what that's called. Which my mate Bill, friend of the podcast, he's had a go at it. I haven't played it yet, but again, it was one of those reduced, and I bought it while it was reduced. And the other one is Sniper Elite, and that one's actually quite good. Yeah, it's quite tricky, some of it, but yeah, that was quite good.
Didn't see. I thought it had a bad review, that one, but maybe.
So far, what I've played of it so far is pretty good. It's very difficult because you expect to be able to sort of walk naturally. Like even if it's like on the joypads, you kind of walk naturally, but you can't. Yeah. It's like you've got to kind of teleport to various spots and then take your turns from there and turn around. It's mechanically it's really strange.
So it uses a teleporting approach, because I played a game, Perfalo. I can't. No, it's not that, but it's like a bit of a cross of like Call of Duty and Strike, Counter-Strike kind of thing. But you use the joysticks to move around like you would on a normal and motion sickness.
To be fair to Sniper Elite, I think actually you can use either control method.
Okay.
But I haven't worked it all out, but when you use the joypad, it seems really slow. So I just gave up on that and was just like, right, I'll just teleport. Yeah. But either way, the controls just seem a bit shonky as well. That's probably why it may have got some dodgy reviews, because the controls aren't they're not console level, obviously.
No.
But from the mechanics of it and stuff, it's very cool. So.
Yeah, I'm just struggling. with games that got that you just move around, I get kind of the motion sickness kicks a bit.
Yeah.
to me, so.
Yeah.
You can only do about 20 minutes, and then you've got to
Yeah.
stop, really.
Yeah, I tried to do that game I just said about, and then I was like, nah, I've got to come off and go outside and get some air. And
Yeah. No, it's very
recuperate.
much like that. Yeah, the rhythm games are where that's why the vast majority of games on there are kind of rhythm based and music based and stuff.
Yeah.
Or static, so you were a static element in the thing, and they work much better, to be honest.
So yeah, that's come up. We'll hopefully talk about that or our experience of Demio in the next podcast. So
Cool.
I'd just like to say I've got this weird cough that I don't know where it's come from. I'll try and mute myself as much as possible, but it might get in somehow. And last time I had this kind of cough, I got COVID. So yeah, looking forward
Don't cough down the phone at us.
So anyway, right,
Jump
to the
the digital barrier.
yeah, to the news. So I tried to put some Clank news in here just to wind up Lewis. And the other thing I could really find this month is that the makers of Clank, Direwolf Digital, have actually put a Everdale digital game on there. Well, they created it to go on any platform. So it's on apps and Steam at the minute. And I had a play.
Cool.
Thought it was all right. It's actually an all right game. There's
Is it good,
some bugs.
good digital implementation of it, is it?
It is a good digital. It's lovely. It's kind of really beautiful kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
Have they animated any of the cards and stuff?
not the when you put the cards down, it kind of does there's some kind of animation, little bits in it. The characters.
Okay, but there's not. Yeah, I'd want the character to like move about a bit.
Yeah, so your
that'd
like pawns that you would. I've not played a board game, but the actual physical board game, but the pawns that you would put onto the worker spaces are actually like real animals. So you've got squirrel and mice and foxes and
cool.
badgers or whatever there is in there. And then you pick them up and you have to drop them, which is actually really frustrating when you're trying to do it with a touchpad and like grab.
Man, yeah, that must have
grab an animal and then try and hover it over the right spot. And it's like, why can't I just click
I'm watching the
spot?
trailer now on Steam. I see what I mean. Yeah, you just click and drop them.
Yeah,
that's not good for a touchscreen, is it?
No, it really needs an undo button. Because sometimes I've done something. No, I didn't want to do that. Oh, it's too late.
Yeah.
So I needed a Lewis button. But so yeah, it's all right. I mean, actually, it's probably more expensive on Steam than it is on like apps. And it probably works better on the apps with a touch screen, probably, I think. So
yeah, it is. It's what, 15, 16 pounds on Steam.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered. I actually quite liked it. It's quite good. They've got some challenge modes on it, where you got to try and beat like the AI, and you get penalised in some places. It was really annoying when I was playing one challenge, and I had like 2 guys left over at the very end, but I couldn't place them. It wouldn't allow me to place them. All I could do was play cards, and I couldn't play cards because I had no resources. So I was just like, is this part of the challenge, or is it just ballsed up? And when I came to the end of it, it just ballsed up. So, which is really annoying.
Very frustrating when you're that far through a game.
Yeah, my bug smashing email went to them to say this happened. So yes. So that's the Clank news. Any of you played Everdale?
Yeah, I've played the board game.
Yeah, I did a couple of years ago.
It's really nice. It's nice. I didn't buy it because it's crazy expensive, but yeah, it's beautiful, and it's fair. Yeah, it's nice mechanics and things. I liked it.
Amazon had it on for like 30 quid one time. I was like,
yeah, I totally missed that. That's about half price these days, isn't it? For
and the trouble with Amazon is as well, you don't wonder whether it's one of the hooky Chinese knockoffs.
Yeah.
I'm always worried about that when I see a cheap Amazon one. I'm like, I check who the seller is, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the case. It just popped up on my phone, and I thought about it for 5 minutes, and then went back to work. So
yeah.
So yeah, I actually didn't finish off this news article. I couldn't remember the game it replaces. Oh, that's great, isn't it? I don't remember. So Skymines, which is a new game coming out at Essen this year, is actually a replacement for Mombassa, which is interesting.
That's right. Yeah.
So
it's an Alexander Fester, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So he's basically completely taken away his racist slavery game and replaced it with a sci-fi mining asteroids game or something like that.
To be fair, I don't think it was a slavery issue, but it was an exploiting native population game.
Colonial.
Not much different, I suppose.
Yeah, well, that was that. That's
Or
the
colonial,
thing.
was it? Colonial past.
It is really funny, isn't it, at the end of the day? Because I remember when GridCon had one of their gatherings at the weekend, and they were sponsoring the African work, where they were like supplying board games to African kids and as a you do that, play this and learn from it and things like that. And they were asked a question, because they'd done a video link with a couple of kids, and they were like, what's your favourite game? And they're like, oh, Mombassa's a really good game. It was like, wow, so that it doesn't affect
crazy,
you lot. Yeah, it don't affect you lot. Why should it affect any of us? So that's. But hey, he thought it was necessary.
But if you're asking for kids for like the deeper philosophical meaning of the game, I think you maybe I'm not sure how many kids even in this country would understand the deeper points of and it's not really about that, is it? It's just I get the kind of argument of it's history and it should be reflected, and it's covering it up is not going to change anything. But at the same time, if the game is about a particular episode in history that was an unfortunate episode of history at best, then should you really be making something that unless I think there's an argument for it if you deal with it in such a way as it's clear that you're not advocating for whatever that was, or you're saying this is the exploitative nature of this, if you're highlighting the issues at the same time. But that was the trouble with Mombassa. It wasn't really, was it? It was just lifting a point in time and an activity that happened in that time. In much the same way as Puerto Rico's getting a lot of stick, and they've kind of had to rebadge bits, or Five Tribes certainly did that, didn't it, with the second edition of changing the slaves in the first edition, and they sort of had to change that to like Kafirs or whatever they called it. So it's much the same, isn't it? I think it's just kind of. I think there's an awful lot more games now where I think you'll see a lot less of this, because a lot of game producers, certainly the bigger ones, or ones that are on Kickstarter especially now, are going to probably get like cultural consultancy or something, just to make sure that if they've got a theme about something, they're going to deep dive it a little bit more before they start publishing stuff.
Well,
you can't afford that kind of publicity.
Stonemaier Games does now, don't they? Jamie's actually hired a person who does this cultural check-in with his games now, and the latest expansion for Tapestry had a good see into by this lady, and I mean, all for the better. You get things right. I mean, you put things in, you don't realise the implementations or the meaning behind it. That might affect other countries. And it could really affect your sales or even the whole game itself. So it's a good step forward in many sense. And it's just going to change the whole horizon of board games from now on. We're not going to have these games like Mombassa or what was the one, Puerto Rico, where they were classics for the gameplay and what they did. So
I think we will still get them, but I think it will just be a case of the publishers will be a lot more mindful of the themes they're picking, without being so kind of, we'll just pick any old theme and slap it on there, and that'll do. Like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, it was no problem, because people weren't. It wasn't a big enough industry to really trigger. But now you're talking about it being, what is it now? Officially about a $4 billion a year business.
Easily.
And it's a lot more mainstream now.
Yeah.
You just can't be as blasé about your themes anymore.
Yeah. GenCon has been and gone, and it seems to have smashed its attendance records, possibly.
You say that
very well.
You say that. I did some checking. It's the lowest attendance at GenCon since 2013.
Okay, I'm completely wrong. Right, let's re-edit this. Okay, GenCon has been and gone.
As a first after COVID, isn't it? It's first back after COVID.
Yeah.
And it's 35,000 last year, which is understandable because it was like the first one afterwards.
So it's 50,000 this year, which is compared to 70,000, I think, in 2019.
Yeah, and I
so
think
they're up to a decent percentage.
Yeah, I mean they're back up to a good number, but it's 2014 they had 56,000. 2013 was like 47 or something. So they've kind of bridged. They're back to that kind of level. But to be fair, it's the same. If you take it ratio wise, I suspect it's about the same as UK Games Expo was. In terms of the overall numbers, in terms of a percentage, So it's still a good attendance, isn't it? That's the idea.
It's a really good attendance.
50,000 people, still huge.
It does make me wonder whether it's the effect of, like, GenCon is like North America's answer to Essen, isn't it? Really, because lots of publishers release new games, or they do their kind of yearly annual reports and new announcements. So I wonder if that's the GenCon effect. Really, it's brought many people back to it. Even though there is still the restrictions there of face masking and.
There were a few publishers that didn't turn up as well, weren't there? I can't think of which ones it was, but there were a number of them that just didn't bother turning up. Much the same as like UK Games Expo this year as well, where some of the big names you'd expect to be there weren't necessarily there. And I think it was the same at GenCon. There were a handful that just didn't show up for the same reason. It was just too much effort or too much cost, or the restrictions weren't quite right. It's probably international ones rather than domestic, I would have thought. But. So, it'll be interesting for Essen this year as well. I'm intrigued to see. It wouldn't surprise me if it's about the same kind of, in terms of ratio of what it was in 2019 compared to now.
I think it'll be up.
Yeah, I think it'll be it'll be an interesting correlation. I think.
And along with that, Avalon Hill made some of the biggest announcements that got people ears twitching. Betrayal House on the Hill 3rd edition is being released. I mean, I don't know why it needs a 3rd edition, but anyway. Along with
That's a third attempt at getting those damn slider things on the cards stay where they're meant to be.
No, they just chuck.
They are dreadful.
They are. Yeah,
people buy poshed up versions, don't they?
It just needs to be a player board and then have a counter sliding up and down. That would work.
Yeah.
I think they're getting dials, aren't they? Is it dial style? I think.
Oh, that as well. Yeah. Yeah, that will work.
That was the upgrade. That was the upgrade one, wasn't it? That you could buy for the 2nd edition. I'd be surprised if they didn't have that as the default for the new one. So, like the Gloomhaven style sort of stat tracker things.
Definitely, that'd work better than those bloody plastic sliding things. And then it's coming out with a expansion straight away. Betrayal: The Werewolf's Journey, Blood on the Moon. So interesting. Brings some new bits to it and a new character to play. Risk Shadow Forces, a legacy game, 3 to 5 players. This was on their portal, is it? Something like that, isn't it? They have their own little crowdfunding website where you can go along and just pre-order the games that they're planning to bring out. So it's basically, I think it's kind of Risk Legacy number 2, where they've done a lot of new things to it. And what did they say? They've improved some mechanics or some of the mech upgrades or things like that. So they made it. There's a story behind it now, not just complete domination every time. But anyway, so I still need to play the first one. I've got 2 copies of that sat on my shelf somewhere. So yeah, interesting. But the biggest announcement, and I left this last, is HeroScape. That game full of plastic is coming back. A
classical HeroScape.
HeroScape Age of Annihilation is going to be called, and it's been given the old 80s treatment with the 80s logo and everything. It's awesome. It's coming with unpainted miniatures now this time, where the original sets, and trust me, I've got 6 boxes worth of them in my garage. All the miniatures were painted, not very well, but they were painted, which was a great start. And it comes with this cool scenery building element to it, which is basically all these hexagonal squares that either stack on top or link together, and you get different terrains and different things that can stand on there. And you spend a day just putting it together. Building your land, then you spend an hour fighting, and then shove it all back into
Spend a day putting it all back in.
Yeah, just scrape it into a box at the end of the day.
I'm going all in a big bin. That's why it takes you a day to set it up next time.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, as I said, I have got like one of those ready boxes full, the big ones of plastic scenery, and then another one full of figures. So,
yeah, and this will work with the old version.
Yeah, this is cross compatibility. So
nice.
Which is a big bonus because now everyone won't be selling their previous lot when the new one comes out.
That's really cool. How much do you play HeroScape these days?
In the last year,
well, the last hour.
The last time I got it out was probably about 2016.
Right. So you were tempted by this new version?
I don't know. I'll have to check it out. It's the fact that the models won't be painted. That's the thing, and I've got plenty to paint already.
Yeah, you want them to match even if they're not like previous ones, but you want them to match style.
But yeah, I don't know. I'll check it. I got plenty of other stuff I can play. But it's cool for those that never experienced it. And that's to say, is it actually going to come to the UK? Or is this just going to be an American thing where it sits there and never actually comes to the UK? Because some things actually still don't come here. So
yep.
My Shelfie from Cranio Creations, a Paul Walker Harding game and Matt Dunstan about building shelves, 3D stands where you go and put your books, board games, and photos properly. Seems interesting.
So it's not? Is it a game? Yes, it is.
It is a game. It is a game.
Have I seen anything about this? It rings a bell. I'm just looking at it now. Oh, it's kind of almost like Connect Four style. You're dropping them into a tower, all the different bits. Okay, interesting. Yeah.
That looks like a fun little game that'll last half an hour.
Bit abstracty. Yeah, very little details
about it. I can't. Oh, there it is. I was trying to find a link to see if I could find any more about it. There we go. The only thing I don't like is the name. I hate twee names like that.
It's a weird name, yeah.
It's just. I think that's. And it's just a name that hurts sales. I think because it's just. I don't know.
It's quite an insular term, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's just a bit. I don't want to say childish, but it's the sort of thing that I think even nerds kind of go.
Yeah,
it sounds a bit crap. You know? So the game could be really fun, but at the same time, it might be like I don't know. It's one of those first impressions things. When I see the name, I'm like, hey, Shelfie. That sounds a bit.
Could be called.
I like the designers. So it's.
What's that?
No, I said it could be IKEA the board game.
Yeah, but you're not constructing.
It can't be any worse than the Greg's stuff you can buy in friggin' Primark now. So.
My Kallax.
Yeah.
That
would have been kind of funny actually if they found some play on that. I think that would have worked.
Kallax the board game.
Nice.
Anyway, so it just looks like an interesting game that I'll probably check out.
You kind of trust Bill Walker Harding to make a
indeed
really solid, easy game to play, don't you? So.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't necessarily like it straight away, like I wasn't a big fan of Baron Park when it first came out, and I was like, "Is that it?" But it's one of those games that you kind of the more you play, the more you kind of just get it.
It's the streamlined simplicity of it is.
He's the expert at that kind of level of game, I think, isn't he?
That he is.
Upper Deck announced their next Legendary Encounters game, the Matrix deck building game. So,
Matrix, goodness me. They're really going through all the IPs, aren't they?
They're going through it, yeah. So
I'm kind of done with the Legendary Encounter. I mean, I love the system. Alien was really good. I really loved it, but it's the fact that it takes you 45 minutes to put the damn decks together.
That's it.
Then you play it for 20 minutes, then you have to resort all the decks back into their little. There's this little mini deck of 10 cards, then this other little mini deck of 8 cards, then this other little mini deck of.
That's it.
Oh my god!
I mean, I've got most of the Marvel Legendary stuff downstairs, and I barely play that anymore. And I've actually stopped getting the expansions because it's just out of control. And it's just like I'm not actually playing it, and why do I need to keep collecting it? But I mean, there's still a massive fan base for it. and especially the
Yeah.
Marvel stuff. And yeah, if they've got the IP for something, they're going to stick it in this legendary
Yep.
system.
Indeed.
Yeah. I can see the 007 one that was the last one they released, wasn't it? The
Yeah.
James Bond one. I can see that one. I don't know how popular it was, but that was one that almost tempted me to have a look again, just because it was like that's quite. I think I could see that working.
Yeah.
You sort of pick your James Bond and you pick your villain for the mission session. It doesn't have to follow the movies even necessarily. So
I think the trouble is with like the Marvel is also that there's actually better now Marvel games. Like
exactly. The whole Marvel Cinematic Universe has kind of kicked off since Marvel Legendary came out, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and I think Disney are going to be a lot more controlling of who has what licenses, what games come out, and the overall state of the property is a lot better than it would have been 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. But anyway, I've got it there. I probably wouldn't even be able to sell it for the price I paid for this. So it's just going to have to sit there, gather dust, and look good. Anyway, but so yeah. I think there's two different sets anyway. There's like the normal Legendary game system, and then there's the Encounter system.
Yeah, Marvel Legendary is a different thing really to the Encounters, isn't it?
But hey ho, they're still all good.
Matrix, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, if anyone's seen the latest Matrix, that's terrible. It's just the law of diminishing returns just keeps on delivering with that set of movies. The first one,
how to recycle all 3 films in one. One go.
Oh, it wasn't even fan service. It's just dreadful.
No, never mind. I haven't even seen it. Not even interested. So
yeah, don't just watch the first one. And that's it.
Yeah.
Any day I'll do that. Any day. 2 expansions and there's been 2 expansions announced for Ark Nova. We got a new map pack and a full expansion introducing mechanics and gameplay. So, yes, excited, Nick?
For the map pack, not really. The maps are just very small tweaks. The Aquarius expansion sounds interesting. I would be interested to hear about more
just
about
to make that deck even bigger.
Well, that is the one downside. There's so many cards as is. I don't know how much it's going to water it down. No pun intended there. But
the pun is because it's water-based animals this time. I didn't actually explain that. So it's an Ark Nova Aquarius, where it's going to have marine animals that you can now hold within your zoo, and it's.
I like the idea of the. You're building little reef areas to put them in, which kind of overlap your map board. An extra university to associate with, and and alternative versions of the action cards, which actually sounds quite nice.
Yeah, someone did actually say, "Now, why are we getting this when they could introduce more interaction with players and more ways of doing something else?" Because there is ways to interact where you scupper people, but they don't really do that much.
It's not a hugely interactive game.
No, but
it's more just trying to rinse through the deck to try and get your bonuses.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 more expansions. I'm going to look forward to them. I probably will pick them up and add it to it, and then see how it goes from there. So, have you played it?
I'm quite happy with it.
Sam?
No, I've not played Ark Nova yet.
Okay.
One of the people at our weekly game nights has got it. We're sort of planning a Saturday session at some point, so I suspect it'll be one of those that appears there.
Yeah, it's been very popular at the Plymouth group almost every week.
Oh yeah,
since
almost every week someone's playing it. I think there's plans to play it tomorrow night already.
Yeah.
So
I've got a bit of a mental deficiency, unfortunately, where as soon as something becomes so universally popular, I kind of feel obligated to
dislike
never play it.
It's not niche enough for you.
I was just like, it can't be that good, so I'm just never going to play it. And it's definitely my problem. So yeah, it's what I'm trying. It's my resolution this year to kind of not do that. I'm going to aim
you need to
to
give it.
play it.
You always got to play those sort of games, and then you know whether you're going to like it. It's like Terraforming Mars. Played it once, and I thought, I just didn't enjoy that at all. And so yeah, when everyone talks about it so highly, I was like, really? It's not that great, but that's my thoughts. So hey ho. Excuse me. New game announced by Matt Leacock, Daybreak, which actually will be on Backerkit crowdfunding services. So this is another cooperative game, and it's going to be about saving the planet from ozone, from pollution and things like that, I believe.
Yeah, that's about climate action.
So yeah. We'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. There is Ark Nova, Orléans Draw and Write.
Not Ark Nova, Joan of Arc.
Joan of Arc. Why was I saying that?
You got Ark on the brain.
I have. Yeah, Joan of Arc. Sorry. Orléans, a roll and write. So basically, we got a roll and write for Orléans.
It's an interesting looking idea. Yeah. It's a draw. You're drawing tokens out of a bag rather than rolling dice. So it's a call it draw and write.
Oh, it's a draw out of a bag.
Yeah. So everyone draws You're each drawing a token out of the bag who's a worker, and then you're doing something with that worker on your board.
That sounds interesting.
Player boards. But yeah, I like Orléans. So it sounds like a interesting little smaller version of Orleans. Look forward to hearing more about it.
So Embracia Group, which is a massive group, if you look into them, they basically own Asmodee, and they have set up a new office, or should I say a new division called Office Dog, and they are looking for people that have designed board games, and they will look at them and see if they can be introduced to their gaming catalogue. So, Nick, you need to get your games in.
Office Dog is a weird name.
It is a weird name.
We're going to have to change our office Wi-Fi password now.
Oh, dear.
You didn't.
I just Googled Office Dog.
I
just got pictures of. If you Google Office Dog, you just get pictures of dogs sitting round tables. It's hilarious. That's definitely not. That's not.
So
right.
It's not just doing that. They're doing lots of other things. They're looking at their own IPs and that they've got hold of, and
games based on IPs. Amazon, which is So
even if they already have the IP and you've created a game system or like an expansion or things like that, they want to hear from you. So it's all that kind of thing. And I said Embracer is huge company. I just learned actually they brought the whole of Lord of the Rings stuff, the Tolkien stuff. They
really all the rights for that.
Everything for it. So they distribute out the rights to whatever, like the movies, TV productions, toys, everything, which is a massive big deal. Asmodee already had the rights to the board game stuff, or Fantasy Flight which are owned by Asmodee. I lost track now. I lost track of your own zone now.
Surely everyone's owned by Asmodee these days.
Yeah, more or less. If you're not owned by Asmodee, you've got to question what you're doing wrong. So that's
as of 2014, it is Fantasy Flight is a subsidiary of Asmodee. So there we go.
Cool. That's the news.
Just reading the thing about them acquiring the rights to Lord of the Rings. That's pretty amazing. That's going to cost them a lot of money. Jeez.
Yeah.
They're not going to disclose the specific terms of the transaction. Wow. I mean, considering I can't remember what Amazon are now making the TV show, aren't they? Rings of Power, and that's the most expensive TV show ever made, and it's something like 100 million per episode or something. It's just like, I mean,
that's insane.
Yeah. So what they must be paying billions from that.
Really, at the end of the day,
but it'll be all the licensing, won't it? Essentially, is like even if they don't make anything new, anything that's printed with Lord of the Rings on it, anything that's whenever movies are shown on Sky or whatever, then they're getting the royalties for all of that, aren't they? Essentially, straight away. So without doing anything new, they're earning money on it. A bit like musicians, whenever their stuff's played on the radio, they get a royalty. It's exactly the same, I would assume, at least within the terms of existing contracts. And then they get the right to negotiate new contracts for licensing of the existing Lord of the Rings properties as well as all the new stuff. So
Yeah.
and it's something that clearly it's stood the test of time since the 40s, and it's even more popular now probably than it's ever been before. So maybe it's clearly a really good opportunity, or they see it as one.
Yeah,
but yeah, massive news. And they've also now finalised. I just seen a couple of days ago. They finalised the purchase of Crystal Dynamics, Eidos Montreal, Square Enix Montreal.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, it's not only Asmodee stuff. It's going to be digital as well, isn't it? It's going to be console gaming, PC gaming. Yeah, the whole
I'm pretty sure I heard a rumor where they've actually divisioned out a studio to make games based on board games based on video games as well. I must have misunderstood that, but they're suddenly just cropped in. As soon as you said that, that
wouldn't surprise me, because like Tomb Raider's obviously the big license for within the Square Enix kind of, and Square Enix I guess would be all the Final Fantasy stuff. There hasn't been a Final Fantasy board game yet, so that's an easy potential option. There's been like crappy card gamey things, isn't there, that they've made in the past, but I could see there being an awful lot of movement on that side of things. Yeah,
definitely.
Interesting.
Definitely. Oh, that's the news. We rattled through that quite quickly. Okay, Kickstarters. So I'm actually backing a game at the minute called Doom. Oh, I can't now. I'm not going to say the
Doomensions.
Doomensions, that's it. A pop-up mystery manor. So this looks really cool.
That sounds funny.
So it's basically like you get this. It's literally a pop-up mansion that like opens up, wraps around, and you've got different levels, and you've got to solve a mystery that's going on in the mansion, and it just looks really fun. And I thought, hey, yeah, I'll give it a crack, see what it's like. It might be rubbish, but hey. But yeah, it's definitely not. It's doing really well as well.
Nice. Yeah, that is an amazing pop-up book.
Yeah,
as is. You
they're also doing this weird puzzle thing. So they're releasing a puzzle not every day, every few days, where if you can figure out what it is, and when the pledge manor comes up, you add in the number code that you figured out, you'll get a special prize. And I've sat there for hours trying to work it out, and I'm just none the wiser. So I don't know what's going on with this. So yeah, thought this would be down your alley, cool. Sam. But...
What?
No, I thought this would want to be down your alley.
What, the pop-up?
Yeah.
Thingy. It looks pretty spectacular. But yeah, I'm not really backing anything on. At the moment, I've got like there's two things on Kickstarter that I'm very unlikely to ever receive, it seems to me. And until I got those, I've decided I'm pretty much not backing anything yet. So yeah, it was actually another newsworthy item. It was Inside the Box Games.
Oh yeah.
They've got Alba, the open world adventure book Kickstarter, which is latest update only came through this week, and it was from the guy who runs it. I'm just gonna quickly.
Peter.
Is it Peter something?
I'm
just finding
Backerkit?
the thing. Yeah, Peter. Yeah. So Inside the Box were kind of rapidly growing. They were one of the big ones at UK Games Expo 2019, right? Well, I think Alba plus the pandemic plus the shipping issue that's been going on has basically killed Inside the Box. To the point where it's now just Peter. He's now living with his parents again, and it's just him trying to finish this project.
Wow.
So yeah, it's he said he's determined to finish it. He's gonna finish it. It will get out, but it's now just him. And considering he had a number of employees, they were gearing themselves up to be one of the big UK publishers, weren't they? And that company's now all but over. After the last couple of years, which is quite a shocking.
That's a real shame. Yeah.
I had that feeling because I was seeing certain things, and I was like, "This company's not going to survive the way things are going." And came to light. I mean, I've actually been on a couple of playtesting sessions with the upcoming games apparently, and they actually paid me for it, which is pretty nice. Sit there and play games, and they were both terrible games, really.
I I mean, there is
So-
that side of things too, isn't there?
Yeah, they've not really done. I mean, they've done. What's it? Cooperative game, in the depths.
Subterra.
Subterra. That was alright.
Yeah,
But
actually,
it's
I
just
played that for the first time not long ago, and
Yeah.
actually, I don't do cooperative games, but I actually quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was kind of like one of those where it wasn't designed in house, though, was it? 'Cause they matched. It was like that. It's like the dating game thing they did at UK Games Expo, wasn't it? The match a publisher to a design thing. I can't remember what it's called. Like, Dragon's Den style thing they did, and they picked it up there.
Oh, that's
and I think
right.
that was that was kind of like the Kickstarter for them as a company to become bigger, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I think they weren't necessarily picking the right projects to publish after that. I think they put a lot into like their own designs, and they weren't necessarily too hot.
It just makes
Said
me
like the
wonder
politics
whether
one that didn't.
they went too
Sorry, go on.
big. I just wonder.
I think they
whether
maybe,
because even when their first game came out, I can't remember what that is now, and he was
Oh,
like,
that
"Yeah,
was
we've got
Molecular.
offices."
Is that the first one?
Oh, Molecular. That was
Molecular, and it was easily
Oh, right.
the worst game I've ever played. Easily, everything about it was just really poor. And one of the guys in our group at the time, or extended group, with Meeple's Corner, he's a guy up in North Devon, and he backed it with the get 10 copies thing, and he had the idea of getting 10 copies and then selling the other copies, and he couldn't sell them.
No.
So he was
I
just
think I
lumbered
remember
with like
that
200
guy.
quid's worth of stuff. Yeah, it's
he
just like, I
bought
feel
it-
sorry for you, but it's a terrible game.
He brought it to one of the game nights, and we tried to sit there and play it, and I was just like, "How many copies have you got of this?" He goes, "About 6." I was like, "Good luck." 'Cause I definitely don't want a copy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit unfortunate, but I think it's an interesting parallel with this is so Inside the Box. It all kind of started with Alicat at the same sort of time, didn't it?
Yeah.
And Alicat did much the same thing, but they started transitioning away from their own designs, and so Caesar at Alicat chose to just ignore his own design and start publishing other designers, and actually doing a good job at that, finding good titles to publish that get some buzz and do a good job of publishing them. Do some actual good production work on it, and I think he found that the strength of him and his companies in that. Whereas I think Inside the Box maybe put too much in stock in their own properties and didn't kind of expand that. Where Subterra should have been the clue to sort of go, actually, we can produce a really good game if we have we just find the right titles to publish. And I think maybe that's where they kind of
Well,
they breathed their own hype a bit too much, maybe.
It takes a lot. It takes a really good person to be both a publisher and a designer. And there's only a few people that pull that off. Above and below designer. Nick, help me out.
Ryan Lockett.
Ryan
Lockett, yeah. I mean, he does all three: design, art, and publish.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
And to be honest, he's about the only one you could name as well, isn't he? Really.
I'm sure
who does all of
it.
it?
As others like Stephen Finn games and stuff like that, they kind of do it, don't they? But they're very small. It's much smaller. The other one I suppose would be
Garfield
Raiders of the North Sea guy. Yeah, Garfield. Shem Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
He does a good job too. He's basically an antipodean version of Ryan Lockett, though, isn't he? He doesn't do the artwork though. So,
no.
Well, actually, no. That I say that he does in the Circadians ones. Doesn't he do the artwork for those himself?
He might well do. Yeah.
I've got a feeling he does, although he doesn't design them. It's one of his mates that designs the game. He just does the artwork, I think. But yeah, you're right. I mean, but I think it's a case of where, as a publisher, you've got to choose one route or the other. And I think unfortunately, I think they put too much stock maybe in their own ability to design games, when they should have maybe built their catalogue up. So it's almost like the way of like actors do it, don't they? Where they go one for the studio, one for me. It's like, right, I'll do a Subterra, and I'll do another one with another designer, and then that's given me the funding to be able to do my passion project publication.
To be honest, I mean, they probably were going that way because, as I said, I play tested games, and these weren't by people. They weren't by like Peter. They were by like designers. I don't recognise any of the designers, but so they were up and coming. I think they basically put out a thing saying, "Have you designed a game? We'll play test it and see if we can put it into our catalogue." Sorry,
Yeah. Maybe they're just bad at picking them then.
That's cool.
But to be fair though, it's like I think Alba was a really popular project. I can't remember what it made in the end. £272,000.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, so it was a huge
really
number. I think that would have been, and I think it would have been a good one to have got into the shops as well. So once it does, maybe it will be a route back for Inside the Box, if and when you can get it out. Because it looks like it should be a really good project, but we'll see. Hopefully it gets here.
Just don't go too big too quick. That's the thing.
Yeah. But anyway, that was a big diversion from the original story.
So what's the other Kickstarter you don't think you're going to ever get then?
Chai.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, it's been over 2 years now since it was meant to be delivered, and it still hasn't rocked up. And apparently it's in Germany somewhere, but it's just, it's not had no indication that it's on its way or anything yet. I was just having a quick look now to see what the latest updates are, and there's plenty of people that are still going, "Where's my game?" So yeah, I'm not expecting it anytime soon, unfortunately. So yeah.
Okay.
And so I have started backing stuff on Gamefound, but I guess we'll come back to that later.
Yeah. Getting back to Kickstarters. So Doomensions is the only thing I'm backing at the minute. Barbaric was one that I considered. It looks amazing game with miniatures, and it's kind of a skirmish game, like a battle royale, running in, grabbing something from the center and running out. You get 2 miniatures. There's a rider and there's the ride, and they can be different things, and they combine together and they make a really cool kind of concept where you got these dials that turn depending what you do or something like that. The only trouble is like, if you want to get the full, as I can tell, if you want the full breadth of the game, you need to spend £300 and get all the expansions that they've brought out, because they introduce other characters into it, and I was just like, I'm not spending £300 again. Okay, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, it kind of, as soon as I saw the price tag, and I was just like, okay, I could just try and get a core game of it, but will I get enough out of that? And it just seemed
it's
ludicrous.
£100 just for the core game as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Says he who backed Marvel Zombies.
Yeah. So yeah, you surely haven't got any money after that anyway.
No, I haven't. No, I think.
But yeah, the minis in this look really nice.
So yeah, if you're interested in miniature games that look really cool and things like that, it looks good. It's really getting high praise, but it's just too expensive for my liking. One I just backed and it finished because it was super quick campaign. It was only like 10 days. Dead Reckoning, Letters of Marque from AEG. The late pledge is open for this. So Dead Reckoning, the actual game, came out a couple of years ago on Kickstarter. It's only just arrived through doors. I say that, it's probably a couple of months ago now that I got my copy. I've literally got it to the table, played kind of solo-ish, two-handed kind of thing, just to get the rules down. Hoped to have a game with the missus and never got around to it. So I can't tell you actually how it went, Sam. I know you were waiting for my verdict.
Yeah. What first impressions, at least?
First impression, it's cool. I do like aspects. It's Dead Reckoning is basically done by John DeClaire, who's famous for doing the card sleeve, like transparent
Mystic Veil.
Yeah, Mystic Veil thing. So you are upgrading the cards. You got like a hand of sailors, from the captain down to like the basic crew, and you have 14 of those or 16, something like that. And they start with basic powers or basic abilities, I should say, and you can purchase. Purchase. I don't know how you get it now. You acquire upgrades for these cards that you can slip into crew that you've used, and as you start going through your hand, you never add cards to your hand. You just have your 16 crew, and as you go through it,
just upgrading those. Cool.
Yeah, your crew get bigger and better, and they actually level up as well. There's like a really cool. There's like their backing card. Of what they say, it goes from level 1 to level 4, which is really cool. So not only can you upgrade the card, they level up, so their powers get bigger and better, which is quite cool. And then so you're sailing around this like formatted board. discovering new islands. You can conquer these islands by putting tokens on it. If you get enough on there, you claim the island, and then you can actually build buildings on it. And you can make at some points you can produce on islands to make money or goods. And the aim of the game is to get money. The more money you have at the end of the game, you win. I think that is your points. And the really cool thing about it, and it doesn't seem to get used enough in this, and I think that's only the downside, is you have this cube tower, which is a ship that is
really cool.
Really, it's the worst building, like cardboard building of a element I've ever experienced. It was absolute nightmare. As sometimes I was literally folding the card, like trying to bend the card to get it slotted in. And what it is cool because they do provide a cardboard box to go inside the game box to put the ship in, so it doesn't get crushed or damaged or things like that. But the box ain't big enough, so it's got on the front of ships. Someone will tell me what it is, but they usually have that nose pointy thingy out, kind of. I don't know, like
bowsprit.
Like a unicorn thing, like sticking out the front, and to get it in the box, that had to bend over a little bit, which is really upsetting. But hey ho, it's just cardboard.
That was that kind of most attracted me as well. It was like the kind of dice combat. Because it's like where the dice finish, isn't it? When they
it's where the cubes. It's cubes, isn't it?
Cubes.
Cubes. So
if you go,
if
you go and fight the opponent or fight an island or do some kind of fight, and you take as many cubes you have as cannon, so your crew will have cannon symbols on it, and your ship will have cannon symbols, so you count how many you've got off of that, and you take that number of cubes for your colour along with the opponent's cubes, and you chuck them in the tower, and where they land in this kind of tray will either determine whether you get goods, whether you put your opponent on fire, or or just crowns, and crowns are basically how well you did in the battle. So that's really cool. It's really fun to do that, but it doesn't happen that much.
It's a shame.
So
I'd be up for trying it at some point. Because it looks like...
I might wait to play yours now, Joe, instead of splunking 100 quid out on.
Well, this is it. So. With the Dead Reckoning the first time round, they brought out 2 mini expansions, and they called it a sagas, and basically a kind of storytelling campaign element for sagas.
Right.
And you look on the back of the second one, and it says you need elements from the first one, and I believe you need elements for the. So when they brought out this campaign, they had this third saga, which is Letters of Marque. I think I'm saying that wrong.
Marque. This is Marque.
Letters of Marque, and I believe you're going to need elements from both the previous sagas to play this one. And this one actually introduces a new part for the main game itself. I think it's trading. I really can't remember now, but it's just an added bit to the game where you got goods, you can trade it in for other things or things like that. I can't remember now, but hey ho, I still backed it anyway.
Cool. It looks interesting anyway.
So yeah, I might bring it to game night one night.
Yeah, I'll be up for trying it.
Gamefound, it's actually got a plethora of games coming out. We got Powerline coming from Queen Games. We got Endeavour, Deep Sea, KeyForge, Winds of Exchange, and Philosophy. Nick, what do you want to add in on this Endeavour?
My little comment I'll put in the notes. The original Endeavour Kickstarter, they have people apparently the non-US speakers were complaining that they'd spelled Endeavour without the U, which is the English, the British English spelling of it, and so the publishers, because they had space on the punch, the correct spelling. So because they had space on the punch board, the publishers added a cardboard U, which is about 1 inch by 1.5 inches big, on the punch board, so that if you really want to spell it, you can just take that punch board out and bang it on the front of the cover, so that it's spelled correctly. So a little Easter egg they added in for the Kickstarter, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So this is a Deep Sea extension.
Yeah. Is it expansion or is it just a stand? I thought it's standalone.
It's a spiritual sequel, I think. It's not related. It's not. It doesn't integrate with the original game. It's a separate game, but it's using, I think, the same system as the original, or a very similar system.
Yeah. I haven't actually played the other one yet, so I don't. Oh, I played the original, which is quite cool.
The very old one.
Played it. Yeah.
Not the remake.
Which I think was spelt right. I can't remember now. Yeah, KeyForge is a bit of a surprise going on to a crowdfunding service. Seems it's some kind of like collectible card game where you're like trying to find a cool pack to buy. It's still going to be the same thing. The packs are not going to be interchangeable. You buy a pack, you hope for get a good one, and you use that until someone whoops your ass with a better pack. So interesting. There's a big following for KeyForge still, and yeah.
And this is being published by the new owners, aren't they? Of KeyForge,
yeah. So this is
Boost Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Christian Peterson, isn't it? The
who's originally ran Fantasy Flight. Yeah.
So it's quite. I've been following the story a little bit via other podcasts.
Yeah.
It's quite funny that FFG basically managed to balls up the algorithm, I think, for creating the cards. So basically,
it broke the algorithm. Yeah.
So Christian Peterson's like, "Yeah, that's all right. We'll buy it off you," and then we'll buy it for peanuts because you can't do anything with it now. And then look, we've got someone that's fixed the algorithm. So yeah, good luck. I mean, it does sound like there's still a lot of activity for a lot of people interested in KeyForge. I was never a big fan. It's not my kind of game, but I know that when I think it was last year we were at UK Games Expo with Christoph with Meeple's Corner, everyone was coming up and snagging KeyForge decks all day. That was 2019. It was just such an easy sell because I think again it's like what I can't remember what a deck was now. It was like 10, 11 quid max, maybe less than that.
And all you needed was one deck, and that's
exactly. So people would go and buy like 4 or 5 decks maybe and just start playing those decks. So. Yeah.
Again,
easy money maker, I guess.
I really wanted to buy a deck to find a really name that they. I never had that luck. But yeah, it was one of those things when it first came out. The names of it were quite bad because like it was like again another algorithm working out names to give these decks, and it just didn't spot like things. It was like it was just grabbing random words and putting them together and. Yeah, it didn't really spot it. So there were some funny names coming out. But hey, let's see how well it does on there. It will work quite well.
Yeah.
The other
it's not live yet, is it? It's
not yet. No.
Coming soon. Yeah.
Philosophy is an interesting one. It's a 2-player game where you are like chewing the fat with your best mate on the beach, and it looks quite cool.
Looks quite abstracty.
It does. So
little tile laying.
X3.
So that starts in 17 hours as we're recording. So by the time this comes out, it will be live on Gamefound.
Yep.
Which is interesting time. I didn't see the timer before, but anyway. So that's Gamefound.
Cool. Yeah.
But they're previews. So actually, on Gamefound and RoboMon, NEXUS, Arena Combat System, and Lawyer Up Season 2, which is a late pledge. Lawyer Up was a quite interesting game. And Season 2 adds in a couple of new modular expansions into it. Things like that. So.
RoboMon's had quite a lot of buzz.
Sorry?
RoboMon's had quite a bit of buzz. I've seen quite a lot of things advertising that. That's
right. It's remember why I put this in now. It's basically Pokemon, but a rip-off of Pokemon, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a non-IP version of a Pokemon.
And it's got the binder storybook element to it. So you flip over and you're going through a new patch of land. Then you go off and try and find these robot creatures. And then you can battle with them against other robot creatures and roll dice. It looks actually quite good fun.
Gabe Barrett, the designer, he does the podcast as well. Which I think he just wrapped up the podcast actually. The board game design lab or something.
That's him, is it? Yeah. Right. So he's got all of the knowledge when he's interviewed all the game designers, and then
he's put it all into this.
Yeah.
He's on other games as well, but yeah, looks good.
Where is it? Backerkit, as we said, the only thing I found on there is Daybreak. Oh, my family's home. So yeah, Daybreak is this co-op game. Oh, there's no link. Why
Matt
am I not
Leacock.
playing link? Yeah, Matt Leacock. I just can't be asked.
There you go.
Got it. There it is.
Well done, Sam, being efficient.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so you can sign up and get notified when it actually releases. 22 days, 17 hours until it launches. So
I really like the look of the art on it. It's really
does.
nice art.
Very calming.
200 unique pieces of art and 0 plastic in the box.
It's already got a rating of 9.3 on Board Game Geek.
It does. Oh my word.
Sam
That's out of
this.
2 10s,
And
1
two,
9,
and two,
1 8.
and two people claim to own it.
The designer and the artist. No, designer and the publisher. Daybreak is an engine building game like Wingspan, but cooperative.
Like Wingspan.
There you are, Sam.
That
doesn't sell it to
makes that.
The cooperative knocks it down a couple of pegs, unfortunately, for me. But we'll
They've
see.
got a quote
I'll
from Phil
keep-
Walker Harding. He seems to like it.
Yeah.
There we go.
I do like the theme, but again, it's one of those topical ones again where it's. I think a topical theme always kind of limits a game's potential for long term. I mean, obviously, climate change is long term, so it may well hang around quite a bit. But
That
you know,
just
it's a
makes
bit like
worse
the
ones,
political ones, isn't it? Where it feels like unless it's a historic subject, if it's very topical, very current, it feels like it's got like a window of opportunity. And then if you don't make it in that window, then it's kind of it comes and goes. And I'd fear that might be the case for this as well, because it's just a bit too, topical right now. But I don't know. It's one of those that feels like it'll go really big and then it will just disappear. But we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see, because Matt Leacock has got a lot of reputation.
Power
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of push. So and again, the theme is one that, even though it's topical, it's been topical for a while, and one that a lot of people give a crap about. So.
Quite a lot of games that do that theme. Yeah.
So that's it. Now we're getting on to the good stuff. Really, let's talk about what we've
Stuff that
been
we've actually played. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what you've
Actual
all tuned
games.
in for. Thank God, everyone says. Right, okay, I'm going to start this off, and it's not going to be a board game. I'm actually going to start with a video game, or computer game, as Lewis would want me to call it. So I got Xbox. I got the Xbox Pass, Game Pass, which allows you to play loads of games randomly. Just recently, they released a game called Power Wash Simulator, and I don't know why, but I just seem to be playing this. And literally, I could do this for real with my own power wash, but you're going around and you're just power washing stuff, the dirt going away, and there's nothing out. There's no. The sound effect is your power wash, which can really irritate some people, especially the wife.
Yeah.
It's like, how can you listen to that? So I don't know. It's like white noise to me. It's like really calm and relaxing, and you're literally like just like
Just power washing various objects.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
my
like a fairground ride. Toilets. At the minute, I've spent 3 nights power washing a subway platform station bit. And
My word.
I've spent just hours just like, okay, I'm gonna wash this area now and wash it down.
It's one of those really kind of therapeutic, calming.
It's one of those bits like, I'm just gonna do this bit.
There's no brain power, but you're achieving something, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this bit, and then I might just go and put real video game on and play that, and then it's like, oh no, I'll do this bit here, and then I'll do this bit here. Oh, I might just do that bit quickly, kind of thing. And it does get a little bit more tactful because you've got to like use different nozzles and things like that, or you can actually get different soaps to add in that washes it away quickly, and then you can upgrade your stuff, brilliant. And you can upgrade your uniform, and then you get random messages from the people you're doing the work for popping up. It's like, what? Stop talking, I'm busy. And then I was like, how could we make this into a board game? And I was just like, you could have like a roll and wipe game. So it's the reverse.
It makes it dirty, and then you have a really small eraser, and you just for hours wiping tiny lines.
Yeah,
that's it. That's the entire aim.
You have challenges. You have to like wipe a line off in a straight line as best you can with your eyes shut.
Ah, there you go. You got a game in the making there, Joel.
Yeah, all right. I'll bring that tomorrow night then. Or you could have it in teams where you have like people have boards and they have to make it dirty by rubbing on black markers. Then you have to swap, and then you got to try and wipe it off as quickly as possible or something like that.
Oh, so good.
Anyway,
hours of fun.
So yeah, it's just weird. I was just
Cool.
sat there. I was like, why do I like this so much?
There's a name for that. I can't remember. I was reading an article about a week or so ago about these kind of games that are essentially mundane activities, and it's kind of like, I think it's because there's a cognitive result of doing something mundane. It's like it's like an escape from the more complicated elements of your life. So actually, playing video games of that type of thing is very similar to the same people that kind of they just choose to go and prune plants or do something mundane that doesn't involve like real brain power because they can switch off and relax.
Indeed.
I think there is a name for that, and I can't remember. Someone smarter than me will probably know. But yeah,
it's like they had House Flippers game on it, and you're basically just going to other people's houses and painting them and changing the furniture around and things like that. And I just spent hours on it, and my mate messaged me, goes, "What are you doing? Get off of that and come on to COD and start playing shooting people." Yeah, I've just got to finish up this bit of wall I'm painting at the minute. And it's literally, you've got to take the roller, dip it in the paint pot after you've actually gone to the shops to buy it, and then charge up your roller, roll a section of wall, it runs out of paint, and you have to put it back in, and it is that monotonous kind of thing. But I was like, this
sounds like it should be on your Oculus, to be honest.
It should have been. It is, Sam. It is there. I've seen it. It's House Flippers VR, and I really want it, but it's actually quite expensive.
Amazing.
So, when it's cheap, I'll let you know.
I hate painting my house for real, let alone painting it in virtual reality.
Yeah, I do all this at home, and I'm doing it virtually as well. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, so that's just me. Anyway, apart from Everdale Digital, like I've said, I played that. A board game I actually played, Exploriana. Now it's shame Lewis ain't here. So we championed this game. He came back to visit, and we played Ark Nova, which we'll get onto, and then our old friends Karen and Nigel came round to see Lewis, and we tempted them to stay and play a game. So we got out Exploriana, which they loved, and it's such a great game. And we played it old-fashioned way, which was the first time we played it with the bidding of cards and that at the beginning. But it is just a kind of push your luck game, drawing cards out of deck and not hoping not to bust. Karen was the first one to start doing the drawing of cards. As soon as the first one came out, Lewis is right in there going, "Ooh, go on, flip it over, flip another one, go on, you know what you want to." It was like the first card, Lewis, calm down. He's like, "Go on, you can do it, you know you want to do it." As you flipped it over again, "Oh, go on, no, one more, pull. There's a
Brilliant.
I don't know if it was meant to be that good or not, but we actually get a blast out of it. So it was good to go back to it. So who was that done by? I'm sure that's a British company as well.
Was that not a self-published sort of job?
Triple Ace Games.
That's it, Triple Ace Games, which they did other things. So yeah, we championed it, and we're still championing it. It's such a great game. Don't even know if you can get it actually in the shops, but. So, yeah.
I've seen it around, but I'm not in the shop or anything. Yeah, I've seen some of the group have had it a couple of years ago.
Go on then, Lewis.
Cool.
Not Lewis. Sorry, Sam. What you got for us?
Right. Well, first up, Exploriana. Yes, you can buy in the shops. Board Game Guru have got it, for instance,
awesome.
And it's only £15. So cheap.
At half the price. It probably is half the price actually. But anyway.
I've obviously played an awful lot since I was last on the podcast, so I'm going to keep it to a couple of the more interesting ones. First up was The Hunger, which is from Renegade.
Yeah.
And people are touting that one as a bit like Clank, but with vampires. And it's not really anything like Clank. but it is vampires. So we got some Clank back into the podcast. So there's another Clank angle.
Horror version of Clank.
Now this is interesting because I've got the hunger. Yeah, I've got hunger as well, and I was like, when I heard about it and played it, I thought, well, this is really close to Clank. Why are like Renegade got two of the same similar games coming out? It's because Renegade's now lost Clank to Direwolf. So it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So again, but it does have some interesting features. So it's quite an interesting one to play the first time, and you realise that you've played it wrong all the way through the first play because you just go, oh god. And so the idea is you kind of vampires trying to get to the graveyard, and you're trying to obviously you want to eat humans along the way, but you then need to get back to the castle before day breaks, so you don't die. But the trouble is, all the human blood that you've been eating has slowed you down because all the humans you eat go into your deck, and that's more dead weight essentially in your deck, so it stops you moving back to the castle.
Oh, that's hilarious!
But the funny bit is like some of the humans are spicy, which is quite amusing.
Yeah.
So if you've eaten a guy that's had a curry that night, you'd then need to get to a well, and the closest well is the one you hit. So when you move, you don't. Whichever is the closest well, it might work in your advantage and you get to move forward. But often you have to move backwards, or you just literally move one space or something to get to the closest well space. And then that's it. That's your turn over, essentially. Because you've got to get to the well to drink water to cool your mouth down because you've got this spicy human. But it is very entertaining. And it's a bit of a brain burner to start with because you're sort of trying to work out the best way of managing your cards. Because you can thin your deck out at certain spots, but you can only, there's I think it's a red and a yellow and a blue and a green space or something. Like green's like the churches and the red is the castle or the military camp or something. So you can sort of trade in and get rid of, you can sort of cash your humans at those specific places with those specific cards. Yeah. But you've got to time it all right. Or they just stay in your deck for ages. So it's very interesting. I do want to play it again, but it is nothing like Clank at all. It's got some deck building and deck destruction in it, and that's about it.
It's really interesting because it is one of those things you got to weigh out. So the idea is you can purchase. See, there's one currency in there. So there's like you use the currency to buy or move or something like that, as I can remember. And you get characters into your deck, and they keep coming back and around because you keep kind of just sucking a little bit of blood out of them. But then there's the Devour action, which is then you kind of tomb them out of your deck, but they still score you. So unless you can devour them, some of them can be right pain in the ass, like Sam said with the spicy ones. So they keep coming out and they stay out in front of you in your play area. And they usually kind of hinder your play. There's drunk people as well, which make you go backwards or forwards away from the castle or something like that.
Yeah, so they make you go away from the castle.
Out your hand. But they usually
you kind of want them early, so it gives you a boost to get away from the castle. That's the direction you're going in. But then you need to get rid of them before you start heading back again.
I mean, there's elements where you can pick up tiles that help you out, and there's some cards that help you because. Like most of these humans actually don't give you the currency to help spend it. They're just dead weight, like Sam said. So you're like, oh, that's quite good. That score me but it's not going to help me. It's just going to. So you got to weigh it all up of whether you're going to have these cards in your deck. You can get familiars, which stay out in your play space that give you bonuses.
And you got vampire abilities cards as well.
Oh yeah,
they're the ones that give you the bonuses. Yeah. So it is really interesting, and it's one that I'll definitely play again because it's a really interesting kind of race there and back again kind of thing. Yeah. It is very fun.
Well, there's two things to it, isn't there? There's the timing mechanism, so it's only 15 rounds long, so everyone gets a turn, and the person closest or furthest away from the
furthest away is the one that moves first, I think.
Goes first, and once they've gone, then you flip over your token, and then the next person goes through the list. And then also the dungeon row or the market row has this like slide mechanic where each turn the ones that are left in the marketplace slide to the right, and new ones come out. So they actually get cheaper the further along. And in the one section, many cards could build in that. So for one purchase, you could get actually several cards in one hit, and fill your hand up or fill your deck
If they've
up.
been left to that point, chances are they're a bit crap. But there'll be a lot of them. So, yeah.
Oh, the tavern's quite funny because there's 3 cards in the tavern, which is a spot on the board. So you go there and you basically take all the cards in there. You don't know what they are. And then after each turn, they keep it. You've put another card in it. So it's like you've gone in there, eating all the locals, and then they start filling up the tavern again after each turn.
Yeah, can't keep a good man away from his beer. That's,
What happened to Jeff? Don't know. He was here 1 minute, met a stranger, and went away. Never see him again. Oh, all right, have another ale, please. Yeah. So yeah, it's actually quite a good game. Or there's the race to the very end to get the rose, isn't there?
Yeah. You got like a graveyard has got like the dead rows, and the first player to get there basically gets the best value from that race element of it. There's also some end game scoring tiles that are randomised, which give you sort of like they're looking at the examples here. Gain 1 point for each human you have hunted that is worth 4 or more points. 4 or more blood. Gain 1 for each bonus token you've collected. Those kinds of things. So there's just little target goals that vary depending on what you do. And I think you get your own. Each player's got their own individual sort of end game scoring things as well. I think. There's a lot to kind of like about it, and it's a very different take on the board game deck builder. So yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, I like that one. The main one that I was sort of like when I was keeping in touch text wise during the last podcast, pushing for is called Die Wandelnden Türme, which I probably pronounced completely wrong, and it's basically the Wandering Towers, which is the Kramer and Kiesling game from this year. I was surprised it wasn't a Spiel des Jahres nominee, but I think that's probably because it was published a bit too late, so I'd assume that it will be next year's nominee.
It might come in, next year's.
Yeah, because it is cast iron Spiel des Jahres level game.
Definitely.
It is the most fun I've had playing board games this year so far, and I just want to play that every week now. And essentially, to me, it's like I can't remember what there's 2 games I kind of think of it as a crossbreed between. I can't remember what the second one is. One is like Ludo. I can't remember what the other one is. Essentially, you got these bunch of towers that can stack on a board in a big circle. Each player's got I think 3 or 4 wizards, and they sit on the towers or on the spaces on the board, and you have a hand of cards. And each turn, you're going to play 2 cards to move either the towers or the wizards. And if you so what will happen is if you move a tower, you move the tower piece that you want to move, whether it be in a stack or not. A bit like Camel Up. That's what I was probably thinking. It's Camel Up and Ludo, weirdly.
Right.
So if you move a tower 3, for instance, you can pick which tower segment you move. It can be part of a stack or it can be standalone. It could have wizards on it or no wizards on it. But let's say you take one that's got your wizard on top. You can move it 3 spaces, and if it lands on top of another wizard, you get to flip one of your potions, and everyone's got like, I can't remember if it's 4 or 5. I think it's 5 potion.
Depends on the number of
icons.
players.
Depends on the number of players. Cool. Yeah. So you get a number of potion thingies. So you get to flip those. You can spend those to activate special powers like move one tower an extra space or move a wizard 1 space or whatever, depending on variable setup at the start of the game. But the idea being that you want to get your wizards into the final tower. It's called the Raven Tower, I believe. It's like a black tower that sort of moves around. And you're trying to get all 3 of your wizards into that tower. And the first person to do that and have activated all their potions wins the game. So it's basically like a little Ludo race game with everyone trying to get into the house, essentially. But it is absolutely hilarious, especially if you've got 5 or 6 players. I think it plays up to 6. And you just got wizards and towers going all over the place, and you've got to try and remember where your wizards are because they're buried somewhere among all the stacked towers. And you're desperately trying to remember, and you go, right, I'm going to move the towers. I think it's there, and you lift it up, and it's not there, and you go, where's my wizard? And it's just brilliant. It's so much fun, and it takes next to no time. It's like I'd say half an hour, 45 minutes max, even with 5 or 6 players. It's just brilliant. It's such a good game. So that's why if it's not nominated next year because of some weirdness, if it is, I assume it will be. If it is nominated, I want to say that it will win it. Obviously, it's a long time between now and the next nominees list, but I would put money on it being a winner next year if it is on there, because it is just brilliant. I hope it gets a wider release and an English release, because at the moment it's only German, I believe. But so much fun.
Cool.
It's a really great game, and it's one of those frustrating things. It's like, just got my wizard is nearly there, and then someone moves the tower you're on right past the tower that it's got to go into. Yeah,
but you get the bonus as well, where it's kind of like someone moves a tower and they're thinking theirs is under there, but it's yours. And you're like, yes, it's out. I found it. Hey. or you've got like the special abilities. One of them is to like have a wizard carry you. So if someone moves their wizard and you're on the same spot as them, you can sort of cash in 2 of your potion thingies to have them piggyback with you. So you can go with that wizard. So if they go in the tower, so will you. So it's brilliant. You time it just right. It's just such fun. Such a fun game. Simple but really good. And the third game very quickly. Played it this week. Played 2/3 of it this week. Is the original The Witcher: The Adventure board game, which was released years and years ago now, about 2015, I want to say, something like that. It's the first Witcher board game released by Fantasy Flight and designed by Ignacy Trzewiczek. I'm a massive Witcher fan, and when I got the opportunity to buy a copy, which is completely out of print now, obviously, it's not that. I don't think it's that popular a game, so it never got printed again. But I had to have it, and a couple of my friends wanted to play it, so we gave it a crack. And essentially, it's Eldritch horror, but with a Witcher theme, really, because you're basically moving around the board to different locations to complete objectives, and there's little side quests that you can achieve as well. It's not cooperative, so it's not like Eldritch horror in that way, but it's competitive. Once the first person to complete 3 quests triggers the end of the game, and at that point everyone else gets one more turn, and whoever's got the most points kind of deal wins the game. We got to about 2.5 hours in, so it was an hour and a half in, and we hadn't even finished our first quest yet. Really? So I was just like, let's make it 2 quests. And it still took us 2.5 hours. But I will say, even though it is a very simple kind of pick up and deliver, essentially, mechanic, it was quite a lot of fun. Especially, you need to play it with people that like the Witcher theme, that like the flavour text and the characters and stuff. And I think if you've got that, then you'll still have a good time with it. But it is something you're going to spend 3 hours playing, basically. It's like an hour per player, at least, to play a full game. But it was nice to finally play it, and it's one that's just going to sit on my shelf pretty much forever. So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it was nice to finally chalk that up as a get it off the list,
off the shelf. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. I was about to say, I was like, I haven't even received my copy of The Witcher yet, which I backed on
No, not that one.
No, I'm just trying to find it now to see what his name was.
The Old World is yours.
Oh, that's
Witcher, the Old World. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to back that because of The Witcher, obviously, but it was the cost just. Knowing me, I would have to go all in and get all of it, and it was going to cost about 350 quid. So it's just like,
this is one of the ones I just said, no, I'm just going to do the core game, and that's all I've done on it so far. So
I think I decided I was going to, because I was a bit put off by potentially the gameplay looking a bit simplistic. So I wanted to kind of wait and see what the reviews for it were from a gameplay point of view once it had been received. And then I'd look at maybe picking up retail when it came out. I think that's what I chose to do. But it sounds like if you've got a copy, then great, I can play yours. So it's
fine. Onboard game. Go on board. Sorry, it's completely different. Go on board is the people that are designing Witcher of the Old World. So some cool miniatures in that. We'll see how that is when it does arrive.
One of the miniatures, which is quite funny for fans of the video game, is the horse on a roof. It's a known bug in Witcher 3, where Roach kind of just randomly stands on a shed roof. That's quite a cool miniature.
Yeah, I saw that.
Nice.
I had to ask you, what is this all about? And because I've played about 2 hours of Witcher 3 on the PlayStation. and now I've got an Xbox. I brought it again on Xbox, and I'm just like, need to find some time to put into that. So.
Oh, it's easily my favourite game of that generation of video games. But it takes a lot to kind of get into. I had to try a couple of them. It's hard as well. The combat early on is really hard. And I remember getting really frustrated with it and just going like, I'm binning it off and I'll come back to it later. And it took me like 2.5 years to come back to try it again. And then I just breezed through it. For some reason, I just went through it straight away. And from there, it was easy. But yeah, brilliant. Highly recommended.
Cool.
Nick, what you got?
Yeah, so what I've been playing recently. So I was at Twist's, the local board game cafe there, social evening the other night.
Oh yeah.
We got some good stuff played, but the one I wanted to talk about is Downforce, which I think you taught me, Joel, on via Board Game Arena back in lockdown times. We'd played it with the Monday night group with like 8 of us, which was very cool. So we played the actual physical version, which was very good. And Downforce is a kind of a car racing auction betting game where there are 8 cars on the track, and everyone is going to own at least one of the cars. They bid for them at the beginning, and then you're playing cards which move all the cars a certain distance.
6 cars.
And there's 6 cars. Okay. 6 players. Yeah, 6 cars. And the tracks have, as in a proper kind of Formula 1 type scenario, when you go around the bends, the track narrows down so you can get blockages so that cars get stuck behind each other, and you're jostling for position, trying to get your cars to finish the race first. But you're also 3 times during the race you can bid on who you think is going to win, which doesn't have to be your cars, and you'll get a fairly decent payout as well if you bid on the right ones early on. So you then get that choice of those 3 times. You're then thinking, do you want to help push another player's car forward because it'll get you a better payout for what you've bet then, or do you want to try and hold them back and get your car further forward because then you get a better payout for your car finishing the race? And it's a really interesting jostling. And we played it 3-player. I think it's probably better with a few more players, but it worked perfectly fine with 3. We had a good time. I think because it's quite a light game, it's not a very heavy, complex game. You do get some weird issues with the bidding where it's whoever's in the first place in the lead at the first bidding point is fairly likely to win the game by that point. If they're ahead enough at that point, then it's very hard to slow them down. And there are some suggestions on Board Game Geek of how to adjust the bidding ratios to make it more even. Because by that point, you just want to whoever's in front, you just want to push them forward because you can get a better deal.
That's the biggest problem with it, is because the person that is in front is usually going to bid for themselves, and then everyone else sees that they're in front. Oh, I've bid for that person, and then we're helping to win, not realizing that player that's going to win is going to get a payout for winning, and then also get payouts for bidding, like them crossing or winning. And everyone else that has bidded for that person will get payouts, but they won't get the same.
But then they miss out on their cars. Yeah. So in the game we played, both of my cars were in the back of the pack from the beginning and didn't get anywhere further forward for the entire rest of the game, which is frustrating. But it's such a simple game that it was just fun to play. We just play and push the cars around and see who gets stuck, and laughing when someone deliberately blocks you. And so in that sense, it's a fun little game. I enjoy playing it. But I think I would want to try it with the betting tweaks, which adjust the kind of the multipliers for whether your car finishes, whichever one you bid on.
Check that out then, because when I try and teach people and explain it, I said, okay, this car might be in the lead, but you might want to vote for an underdog, because if they win, they are going to win. Whoever owns that car is going to win the game. So maybe not vote for them. And it's like, they still don't get it, and it's like, well, then that's your own fault, kind of thing.
Indeed. I think you have to play it a couple of times before you realise how to adjust, how to bid in the right way. And what you bid at the beginning, you also lose that amount at the end in points. So however much you spend at the beginning, you're going to lose that. So you can't bid too high at the beginning, but then you have to bid on what you think you're going to do well in because of all the cards in your hand. So if you haven't got very few yellows, you don't really want to win a yellow car. But then that might be all that's left because everyone else has outbid you.
Definitely.
But yeah, so that was a good fun, that one. The next one on my list, Fuji Flush, I put on here just because it's a very simple little one. From the name, you might be able to tell it's a Freedom and Freeze design. From 2016. It's a pure abstract card game, just cards numbered 2 to 20. But it's got a nice little twist in that you can. It's a card shedding game, so you're trying to get rid of all your cards as quickly as possible, and you can basically play any card you want on your turn. If you play higher than anyone, if you play a higher card than any other player has played so far, you get to flush their cards out, and they have to draw a card again. But you can combine with someone else's play if you play exactly the same number. So if someone else played a 3, you play another 3, that becomes a 6 now. So both of your cards are worth 6 instead. And someone else can play another 3, and then they're worth 9, and then you have to try and beat that as well. And you're just trying to get rid of your cards as quickly as possible. It's a very light game, but it was good fun for a game that has just numbers on cards. It's got that little Freedom and Freeze twist, which makes it an interesting little game. I compare it kind of level weight with Scout, which is one of the Spiel nominees this year. But yeah, that was a good fun one. And then Welcome to the Dungeon was the next one on my list, which I've never played before. And Welcome to the Dungeon is a game from 2014, I think it is, or 2013. So it's been out for quite a long while, and I've never actually had a chance to play it before. But we were looking for kind of quick, fun things to play at this social event. And it was this is a game of it's a push your luck, where you are all trying to beef up this hero to go into this dungeon to fight monsters. But you are, on your turn, you draw a card from the monster deck to see what the monster is, and then you can decide to put that monster in the dungeon, or you can discard that monster, but then you have to take one of the weapons away from the hero. And at some point, someone is going to have to pass, and then they have to go into the dungeon with whatever the hero has left, if he has anything left, and fight the monsters. And all his weapons will do things like it'll cancel out any monsters that have even powers, or just it'll destroy any dragons, or you get to flip a monster, and if all the types of that monster will get killed. And you're trying to survive the dungeon, and if you get 2 survivals, two kind of runs where you survive, then you win. Or if everyone else gets eliminated, then you win. And I managed to pull off force everyone else to get eliminated, which was quite satisfying, I thought. And you get 4 different heroes, and they each have their own weapons that they can interact with the monsters. So it was a tight little game. Yeah, very, very nice little small box game. There is a sequel as well, which I haven't played, which mixes things up. But that was a fun one to get to play at last. And last on my list was Ark Nova, and this is where you can join as well, Joel, if you want to talk more about Ark Nova.
I was wondering if we might leave it. I mean, I've tried to message Lewis, so we could leave it until next time.
Yeah, we can talk about it next time, because I played with the group.
Lewis's complaints, opinions on it. I know. So
I've mixed views of it, but yeah.
We'll give it away. The other game I wanted to talk about, Brazil Imperial. So I just picked this up. Recent purchase. It's actually been cropping up on my Facebook quite a lot, because I think Portal Games has got the rights to publish this in Europe, or probably just in Poland. But it looks beautiful. Like, the front cover is striking. The colours they use in the game are really bright, and it basically shouts Brazil at you, kind of thing, because they're known for their fun and carnivals and things like that. But I mean, it looks beautiful, art's beautiful, things like that. Someone posted on Facebook group chat that this was like, they played it last night. It's brilliant. They loved every minute of it. Better than Scythe, or I don't think they said that, but someone commented saying that, I read the rules, it just sounds like a clone of Scythe. And he goes, it's better than Scythe. So I was just like, fine. Excuse me. Too much beer.
Yeah, it sounds like an interesting game.
Yeah, because I didn't actually think this was coming out until Essen. And then someone said, no, you can buy it here. So I went to this shop. It was a random, weird online shop that I had never heard of. And I thought, right, I'll take a chance and buy it. And I did.
Yeah.
and I got.
They had copies. They were selling them at the Games Expo and at GenCon, I think.
Oh, were they?
So I wonder if they just bought
GenCon I know
copies.
about, but I didn't realise they're selling them.
It might have been in
Expo.
Expo. Maybe it was just GenCon. Maybe my memory is failing. But yeah,
Maybe.
definitely GenCon. You could buy them.
But so I got a game of it. It took a while. Like, I did read the rules. Never got to actually try out a game, but I was like, took it along there, sat down, and I started going through it. And like, it took a while to get everything sorted and organised. You've got to build a map. Every player gets their own pieces, and they've got like a bit like Scythe again. You get 2 boards. One is like your main action board, and then you get like a Monarch sideboard, which gives you a kind of ability. You can choose either side of that. One player, and it's asymmetrical, so it's all asymmetrical things going on. One player gets 2 Monarch boards, which are both flippable with different powers on it. That confused the hell out of me at the beginning, but anyway. So you build a map, and you each have a capital you start in, and then you get like 1 resource. And it was like, holy crap, how do you get more resources? I was like, oh, well, you can get a resource here, or that was it, I think. And it's like, oh, I need money to get my troops out on the board. How do I get? I'll go to the harbour and trade or something like that. And it was really kind of a bit slow. And we were like, how do we get resources out of this? And a bit like Scythe, where if you build a building on a hex, it creates resources straight away, but it stays on that hex. It doesn't actually come to you, but you can use it because it's part of your kind of kingdom, empire kind of thing going on.
Yep.
But if a player comes over with troops, they can take over that land, and it's their resources. The building doesn't belong to them, but they can then use the resources off of it. So that's quite cool.
That's cool, yeah.
There is a bit of battling going on it, and they actually made it better, because one thing I hate about Scythe is like, you're not going to fight someone unless you know you've got good power and a good card. And if someone's coming to attack you, it's like, I'm done for, I might as well not even bother kind of thing, because I know they're going to do something to me. So it's just like, but in this, your troops have a strength power, so you can work that out, and then you can play free combat cards if you've got free combat cards. And it's not just +1 strength, +2 strength added. It could do weird things like the player has to give you a resource kind of thing. If a player attacks you, and they've got huge strength, you gain this or something like that. So there's a different combination of cards going in there that really mix it up, and that. And actually, at the end of the day, they don't get anything out of it if they win. They just kind of get control of land or. And that, and your troops just go back to your board, and then you can redeploy them, which actually you might get some unique abilities out of it. The coolest thing about it is there's 3 eras, and you use this action token for era 1, and you've got mission cards for each era. Soon as some person has completed the objectives on their first era action mission card, they announce, I've completed this. They can explain where they've completed everything. It's not that hard, and they get a reward, and then everyone moves to era 2, and you get another action token for era 2, and that old era 1 action token gets flipped over and actually unlocks a little bit of a power where you can put it below the action spaces on your player board, which is quite a cool concept.
So everyone starts phase 2 at the same time. Effectively,
everyone starts era 2
one
at
person
the same
figures
time. The people that haven't done the era 1 mission cards can still complete that. When you complete a mission card, there's palaces down your board, and when you take it off and put it onto a hex you control, you get what's underneath the palace. So it'd be like maybe a resource, and these buildings at the end of the game score you an extra point, things like that. And there's also, what else is there? Products. So if you get enough resources together, you can make these products which are like a token of a shape, and you can then put it onto your action spaces, which unlocks more abilities for that action space. So there's a bit of upgrading and things like that, and there's points coming from everywhere. And as soon as a person completes their third era mission card, the game ends. And then you score up. And it was actually quite cool, quite interesting. And I would really like to play another
love
game.
to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play it at some point with you.
If I come tomorrow night, I might bring it along. I definitely will bring it along. Just can't
Cool.
decide if I'm going along tomorrow night. Are you
I'm not, no. I'm
Oh.
away. Alas,
That's
away.
right.
I'll be there hopefully a week after.
So, he's not got back to me. So yeah, that was Brazil Imperial. It is out in a shop, online shop. I'll put the link in the notes if someone's interested. Get it. I don't know why they've got. I think because they've got like special imported boxes because it's made in Brazil. What's interesting is there's the rule book, and then they added another booklet which is all about the history of Brazil and why they used certain characters and indigenous people into the game itself, so you can learn all about like Brazil's kind of rise and why it was called Brazil, or the names it was before and what had happened and who's been there and done what and things like that. So not fully read it myself, but it was like, oh, this is quite interesting. So yeah, that was a nice take on it.
Very cool.
Learning history lesson.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, nice one.
So Nick did want to talk about Ark Nova, but we might leave that to the next episode when hopefully Lewis can join us again.
Yeah.
Is that it, guys? Someone did put in things that grind my gears. I don't know who did that.
No, I put that in. We won't leave that till next time if you want.
Yeah, it's 10. So let's close this up. Thank you for listening to a podcast. If you want to make any complaints or suggestions of how we can improve, you can contact Lewis, and I can guarantee you receive a 2-worded answer. I put 2-worded answer back.
There you go. Fix it.
For any other comments, you can contact us in many ways: email, Twitter, Facebook, social media sites. And if you can always continue the conversations and topics we have discussed in this podcast in our new Discord. Is it a page or site? Server?
It's a server. Yeah, Discord server.
Discord server. So we've set that up. Links and that, you can go and be in there, and you can go and continue it there. And this is how we've now recorded it. So hopefully it sounds better and it's worked better. Hope it's worked. Anyway, you can find links to all we've discussed in the show, links to our social links and show notes in the show notes. Oh, this is badly worded. Sorry, guys. I'd like to thank the guys for giving up their time to do this show, and let them say good night.
Good night.
Good. Good night, everyone, and I hope to see you, see you in the next podcast. See him in the podcast. What am I talking about? Stupid man. Anyway, good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Nice.
Classic.
Nice.
Excellent. Thanks, chaps.
Nice to have
nice
you
talking
back.
to you, Sam.
Oh, well, sorry it's taken so long.
That's all right.
Might be lots of excuses, but they're all legitimate, I promise.
Yeah, we always have those problems.